Pastor Jack Hyles on Romans 10:9 and 10. The believing in the heart justifies the new convert in the sight of God. The confession with the mouth justifies the new convert in the sight of man. From the 1985 book, Salvation is More Than Being Saved.
Brother Hyles, Dr. Jack Hyles. He coined the phrase, the Romans road. Came up with that term, okay?
The Romans road, coined by Dr. Jack Hyles. Oh, it worked in the days of Jack Hyles.
I look at people in the Bible like the Apostle Paul, the Apostle Peter. I look at these heroes of the past, men like Curtis Hudson, Jack Hyles, Jack Hyles.
He did a lot and ignited a huge soul-winning movement. And in many cases, even today in 2018, the best church in any given area is often a Hyles-Anderson graduate. I have personally friends and people that I've known who said, I got saved at First Baptist Church of Hammond. Tons of people. I run into people like that all the time. Or the pastors and preachers that he trained, where people will twist this is they say, well, if you want to know if Joe Blow is saved, look at his works. That's not how we tell if people are saved. But that's how we tell if a preacher is saved. Because if we look at a preacher or a prophet, and we see them producing all this corrupt fruit and all this bad fruit, what does that say about them? And then you see another preacher, and he's putting forth all kinds of good fruit. What does that say about him? Now, I used to go to First Baptist Church of Hammond because I was in Hyles-Anderson College at one time. And I feel bad for people that are being persecuted in their own church by megalomaniacal pastors who want to dictate to people, thank God I started a church, and so, I can do what I want.
Deceased false prophet Lester Roloff. This guy's a fraud. He's a false prophet. He's in hell right now. As far as I'm concerned, if you can stomach this guy, you can stomach just about anything. He has, wicked intentions. If you look at it, it's pretty obvious to me. Now, some might say, well, I can't believe you nitpick and expose a brother in Christ. Brother lost a godly man. He did a lot for the NIFB movement. Well, no, he didn't. Deceased false prophet Lester Roloff. This guy's a fraud. He's a false prophet. He's in hell right now.
You got to hear this. Lester Roloff and I were good friends. Before anybody ever knew us outside our county, we'd call each other on Monday morning and see how we did the day before and talk. And Lester Roloff.
One of my good friends was a young preacher named Lester Roloff. He and I sort of grew up in the ministry together. Brother Roloff and I shared pulpits all across this nation together. Brother Roloff is gone now. He's looking at the face of Jesus. None of my preacher friends has to say, no man stood with me as long as Jack Hyles is breathing. When I heard about Brother Lester Roloff's problems, got on the airplane, flew down there, stood beside him. Thank God I did. When my friend's in trouble, I'm in trouble. When my friend's attacked, I'm attacked. When my friend needs help, he's got help. You think when the devil comes to your child and says to your child, don't believe the Bible, that biology teacher at high school is right. I mean, not ours high school, but he's right. Don't believe the Bible. You think the devil or your child will listen to the devil? Well, what if one of the devil's cohorts comes and says something bad about somebody? Huh? You listen, don't you? It's not a funny thing. You don't want your kid to, but you do. Now, you listen to me. You are inspired by the devil every time you say anything bad about one of the brethren. That's why we have a rule, Hyles-Anderson College, that no Bible preaching school, no Bible reading school, or preacher or church is ever criticized in a classroom. And you'll forgive me, but we'll fire anybody that does it one time. You say, what if they won't go? Well, we'll just kill them. We'll fire them. We're not going to have a bunch of students at our school gathering around after a guest speaker speaks on chapel and cutting them to shreds in the dormitories. If we find out about it, they'll be shipped home on one offense. Why? We're not going to get in cohorts with the accuser of the brethren.
He's preaching work salvation. This guy's a fraud. He's a false prophet. He's in hell right now.
I can't do one thing, not by works of righteousness which I've done. This whole world, there's only two plans of salvations in the world. You know what they are? Salvation by grace, salvation by works. Which one are you taking? Salvation by works will take you to hell. Salvation by grace take you to heaven. Amen. I can fellowship with anybody on earth if he really believes 100% in salvation by grace. I would never allow anybody to work with the enterprises that didn't absolutely believe 100% in salvation by grace.
Pastor Jack Hyles on Romans 10:9 and 10. The believing in the heart justifies the new convert in the sight of God. The confession with the mouth justifies the new convert in the sight of man. From the 1985 book, Salvation is More Than Being Saved.
Now, I'm not saying I endorse everything about him, but I am saying